Steve.
Hey, Joe.
Now, you're one of our newer members. You haven't been with us for very long.
No, only a few months now.
Yeah. So, what did you think you were getting yourself into?
I didn't really come in with preconceived ideas. My take on it was initially, I did a little bit of research on you and what you did and listened to a few of your podcasts.
Oh, okay.
I went into it looking at it from the perspective of what it is, and that's a social connection sort of environment.
Yep.
It was that initially, straight away when I walked in the first dinner. I've had many great experiences at the dinner so far.
Yeah, oh good.
There's been a few good connections made through the dinners.
Good.
And me personally, I think I've gained some personal growth through it as well. So
that's kind of a bonus, isn't it? It's like this hidden bonus that I don't know if people expect that, and yet it happens for everyone.
It happens. It's almost like osmosis. It happens because you're there.
Yeah.
And if you don't,
you keep showing up.
If you don't put yourself into those situations, you don't learn.
Yeah.
So if you approach it from that sort of open sort of atmosphere straight away, that gives you that openness to the people that are around you as well at the dinner. Mm-hmm. That gets them more relaxed and more comfortable, and it feeds off each other. And I found it really changed the way I interacted on a social level.
Okay.
So when I first started going to dinner, I'm a pretty reserved person, but
and yet you wouldn't know that listening to you now.
No. Well, I'm not really, but in social sort of
when you're meeting strangers, when you're meeting people you've not met before, you can be a little bit more.
I'm very reserved. But what I've found through a few of these dinners is I'm the most gregarious person at the table. So that opened my eyes to who I really was.
Right. So you actually felt that you were in a safe arena that you could actually expand who you are.
Well, be
more
myself.
Authentic. Be more authentic.
More authentic, not trying to portray something that I'm not.
Right. Did you find that initially you had a bit of trepidation about the thoughts of, do I have to try and be something I'm not to fit in at these dinners?
No.
You didn't? That's
not
good.
At all. Not
Excellent. All right. Clearly our website's working. Quite detailed, all the podcasts are, to actually get you so accurately realising what we're about, which is good. So have you got
I was lucky to have insight to someone that was working for you.
Well, that's good.
So, yeah.
Now, do you have do you find that there was any particular behaviour that you were witnessing in other members that you think, that's a good idea, I like how they do that, or I'm going to take that on board? Was there an attitude or any tips that you've got there?
Oh, definitely coming in from the perspective of being open to everyone in the group. There's been one dinner in particular where we had a couple of people that turned up and they were so softly spoken. I still at the end of the dinner didn't know what they were about.
Right.
Right.
So they've got to take a deep breath and you've got to step up.
But through the course of the dinner, slowly but surely they started coming out of the skin a little bit more. We got to engage with them on a fairly personal level, and towards the end of the dinner they're starting to be the louder one at the table. So
it's good to see that, isn't it?
It is really is.
But I guess on the flip side is it also showed you that, and that this is not to be horrible about people that are quieter like that. However, it gave you the contrast to be able to say, you know what, I'm going to try to not be that person. I actually don't want to be that quiet person when we first get there. I want to step up and be bold and be a bit brave and, put myself out there a bit more assertively than that quieter start.
Yeah, well, I find like I've got a fairly diverse interaction levels. Because if I'm in my work life, I'm much more forthright and guiding sort of.
Well, you bring up a really interesting point, because so many of our members are successful in their careers. And so often when they are feeling in any way vulnerable or nervous or a bit anxious about socializing, people will flip into their work persona.
Yeah.
And I think in a way that's a good thing to start with. But my rule would be you're only allowed to stay in there a few times, and then you've got to start getting to your true authentic self, because work is work, play is play.
That's right.
And we are different people, and so you want to people. I think my tip is that I would suggest that people watch that they're not staying in that work persona, because it is about Steve the boy, not Steve the corporate man.
Exactly.
And if I was out socialising, it's about Jane the girl. It's not Jane the corporate girl or whatever it is I do for a living. What do I do for a living? And so I think that's a great example of what you can bring to a table.
Yeah, I found that initially I was fairly reserved. Towards the last couple of dinners, I've been the first one to arrive, greet each person as they arrive.
How does that make you feel to be able to beat that guy?
Empowered.
When it's not with your work energy on. You haven't got your work suit on,
as myself.
You feel empowered.
Yeah.
That's a big word. I love it. Self-empowerment is something that I'm a huge fan of and love helping people to achieve that.
Personal growth comes in many forms.
Yeah, it does.
And you've got to allow it to happen. A lot of people are closed.
Oh, you're fabulous.
Thank you.
How lovely. What an awesome new member. I love it. That's great. All right, so anything you want to share from your journey you've been to a larger event as well. You went to a cocktail party recently.
Yeah.
So were you feeling a little apprehensive or anxious about going into a larger event?
Not really.
You felt okay. So
I felt
the
fine
dinners eased you into that you feel like, okay, no, I'm ready for all of that.
Yeah, I found that fairly easy to move forward with, but I don't like the huge crowds.
Mm-hmm.
The event last weekend, that was around about 70 people.
Yeah, about that, yeah.
So that was quite nice, quite intimate.
Yeah.
And it gave everyone a good opportunity to talk right across all boundaries. So
all age groups,
groups,
at that particular event. Did you find though that I feel, but I don't want to put the words in your mouth, but I feel that when we're doing the events that our members have kind of a code of conduct. It's like they've got a commitment to kind of kindness and not the cold shoulders.
It's definitely a situation of everyone comes to these events as wanting to engage with others.
Yeah, there's that commitment there, isn't there? So
Yeah,
it's not like we don't have 70 people and 70 people are not talking to anyone because they're all too not sure and waiting for everyone else to make the first move.
I noticed.
It was very free flowing, isn't it?
Probably 20 minutes. You had little satellite groups develop, but very quickly those groups just melded into the one crowd.
Yeah.
And everyone, no matter what age group or orientation, they were talking freely and making new friends.
Yeah. So if somebody's thinking about doing not the dinners but doing the events membership, because we've got a membership service that's just for events, do you think that they could feel confident knowing that they could arrive at an event and they're not going to get brushed off? They're not going to be standing there alone. Because I think that's a lot of people's fear is, what if I go to a cocktail party or something and I'm standing there by myself?
And at a social event, that's not part of what it's about. It's about engaging each other, and you've got some pretty good people that work with you that agree to
I do, absolutely.
And make everyone feel comfortable.
Yeah, the gorgeous Katie will take care of that, as will Kat and Hayley and Lisa, who join us as well. Any final tips that you would give for anybody that, like you, is just newly thinking about doing this?
Well, from the perspective of the men out there,
let's talk to the men.
I'm finding this.
They're desperate, and
they're
desperate. That we're all desperate.
We're all desperate to
I'm not single, but you guys are all desperate, and clearly not.
The fact that as you get older, you find it more difficult to put yourself into those situations that you aren't in total control. Mm-hmm. You don't have the Adonis persona, but there's plenty of people out there wanting to meet you.
Yeah.
It's about being open for them to meet you.
Beautiful. That's lovely. Thank you so much, Steve. That's great.